Hello everybody, Vic here with another video, and today I'm diving into the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, probably my favorite horror franchise. Amongst the big three slasher franchises, of course, you have Halloween, you have Friday the 13th, but for me as a kid growing up, I was always the biggest Freddy fan. Freddy used to haunt my damn dreams, man. I would sleep at night, wake up in a cold sweat, thinking about Freddy. I would, in my dream, be going down to the kitchen to get a midnight snack, and there's Freddy in the kitchen laughing at me and chasing me upstairs, back to the bed. We all probably had nightmares of Freddy Krueger as a kid. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but I did, and I was always scared. The Nightmare on Elm Street movies always scared the bejesus out of me as a kid. You know, growing up and watching them now, you kind of get more of a fun factor from them and not really the fear, but it's still probably my favorite horror franchise. So I figured the new 4K box set came out recently, so I've been able to revisit the movies in 4K, amazing sound, amazing visuals, whole new level of appreciation for the movies, and I thought we'd go through the franchise, deep dive each and every one of them, starting today with the original Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984. So what is the genesis of Nightmare on Elm Street? Well, of course, the creator, writer, director is none other than horror master, horror legend himself, Wes Craven, who originally wrote Elm Street back in 1981. Now, what was his motivation? What was his inspiration? Where did he get the idea for Elm Street? Well, apparently, he was reading a news article about a kid who kept waking up screaming every night. You know, he wouldn't go to sleep, kept screaming about something in his dreams trying to get him. And it happened for like a week or so where this kid was just continually waking up screaming. His parents would come in the room. Hey, what's wrong? You know, this thing's coming after me. They would just tell him to go to sleep, of course, because you can't imagine anything really crazy going on in the dream world. So the parents, of course, probably just say, go to sleep, you'll be fine in the morning. But it kept happening. Eventually, on the fourth or fifth or sixth day, this kid actually, this time woke up screaming and just died right there in his bed. And, you know, investigating his closet, they found a pot of coffee, basically a coffee pot, which I guess fed into the idea that he had been trying to stay awake and unfortunately fallen asleep. But that sort of gave Wes Craven the idea of like, what if there was something in your dreams, got this kid and was getting other people, and thus we have Freddy Krueger. And then there's another part of this too, Freddy Krueger himself, the inspiration for Freddy himself. When Wes Craven was a kid, I guess he lived like in an apartment complex, and from his upstairs apartment window, he's looking out one night, and he sees, I guess like a homeless guy on the street, who's kind of just like, you know, just hanging around the street, just walking around. And the homeless guy looks up right into the bedroom window to see Wes Craven. They make eye contact, which if you're young Wes Craven, this has to be extremely freaky, looking out the window, and then someone looks back at you. And apparently then, the homeless guy starts to walk slowly on the pathway towards the front of the apartment complex where the front door is. And Wes Craven's just following him, like, with his eyes, like, oh my goodness, he's coming to the apartment building. What the hell? So then he sees him go to the front door. Wes Craven's going to go out of his apartment to the stairwell, and he actually hears somebody coming up the stairs. All this to say, basically, the idea that this homeless guy wanted to scare the shit out of Wes Craven, he was like, that's what he wants out of Freddy Krueger, kind of a creepy old man with that kind of sense of humor. So yeah, those kind of combined together to come together to make Elm Street. But he had a hard time getting the film launched. He wrote the script in 1981, but of course it came out in 1984. It's because nobody wanted to really take on it. Remember, early 80s, we had Halloween, we had Friday the 13th, slasher craze, but more guy walking around with a mask, more generic, you know, chase scene, guy with a mask, has some kind of weapon. Wes Craven was on some new stuff here. He's talking about a dream demon, a dream killer getting your dreams. It was maybe a little bit too advanced for the early to mid 80s, and studios didn't want to take on it. Finally, he found a home with New Line Cinema, which, you know, essentially would go on to later, they would call it the house that Freddy built because of the success of not only Elm Street Part 1, but the future Elm Street sequels, because New Line was a small, independent operation. They took a big chance with Wes Craven here with this movie, and it paid off big time. That's just kind of the background of where we're at there, 1984. Now, the movie itself, let's talk about it. Wes Craven's directing here, and we know this guy knows horror, so he's going to deliver a lot here. And the casting of Robert Englund is probably the main thing that stands out, because if the wrong actor had played Freddy, if they didn't get Freddy right, because Freddy's written in a way where there are some goofy elements even here in Part 1, so with the wrong execution of Freddy, this whole franchise goes down, you know, in the dumps. I mean, years later, Wes Craven made a film called Shocker, which he actually admitted that he was trying to recreate a new Freddy, a new horror franchise, because he had kind of a rights issue with Elm Street, to where he wasn't really making the money off the Elm Street series that he should have originally. But eventually, I guess he got paid. But he tried to make Shocker, and which I actually like Shocker. It's actually somewhat underrated, but it didn't really work. It didn't become a franchise. So you can't count on the idea of any horror villain becoming a franchise level killer that people want to pay to see over and over again in different sequels. But they struck gold with Robert Englund, which is, it's interesting because on paper, I guess Wes Craven originally was going to cast an older actor. He was looking for somebody older. Remember, he's thinking creepy old man, and Robert Englund was in his 30s here. Robert Englund was, although he had been acting a lot previous to this. I mean, he had done the television show V. He had done a lot of stage work. He had played, apparently, according to Robert Englund, he played a lot of best friend and sidekick roles throughout the 70s and early 80s. So he was actually a seasoned actor, but still very young in his 30s to play something like Freddy Krueger. But man, this is one of those examples of like, this was meant to be, because you look at where the Elm Street franchise is right now, it's basically in limbo because they tried a remake back in 2010, which is probably, in my opinion, the worst horror remake we've ever seen, Platinum Dunes. And yes, there were story problems and acting problems, and I think the new actor trying to play Freddy did a reasonably good job, but the franchise to me is kind of on hold because you had one guy personify Freddy in a way that he made the role so much his own that it's going to be extremely difficult to move past that and have a new actor take over Freddy. I've heard people talk about Kevin Bacon should do it, Jim Carrey should do it, different actors. And yes, a good actor can come in and do a good job, do their own interpretation, but the Freddy Krueger we know and love is Robert Englund, is always going to be Robert Englund. It's going to be hard to get past that. So it's a magical moment in time of casting to cast Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. Let's talk about Freddy himself. What's his backstory? Well, Freddy himself, now in the original script, there was actually a sort of pedophile angle to Freddy Krueger, but it was taken out of the final product. So instead, what we have here with Freddy is more of him being a child killer, although, of course, in everybody's headcanon, I think a lot of people add the idea that he is kind of a child murderer, and then beyond that, above some as well. But, got off on trial. I guess, didn't have enough evidence, or the police somehow bungled the trial, so Freddy was set free. So the parents of Springwood decided to take the law into their own hands and kill Freddy themselves, burning him in a building. But what they didn't know was Freddy, I guess if we're bringing the Freddy's Dead canon, Freddy made a deal with some kind of damn dream demons to make himself a dream killer, allowing him to get revenge on the parents who killed him. And he's getting revenge with the idea of killing their kids in their dreams, where the parents cannot help. That's kind of the background. We have a dream killer with a revenge motif trying to get revenge on the parents who burned him, even though, of course, again, he's a child killer, so he definitely deserved to be killed there. But, okay. How long ago did that happen before Nightmare on Elm Street starts? I don't know, because Nancy's mom, played by Nancy, who's, of course, Heather Langenkamp, our awesome final girl, which we'll talk about a lot. I want to kind of break down some more nuanced things, because everybody's talked about Nightmare on Elm Street and everybody's seen the movie. So let's get into some more nitty-gritty things about the movie, figure out some story elements here. And Nancy's mom describes to him, hey, we did this, we took him out, he can't get you. Nancy is probably, 16 years old in this film, so when did Freddy get burned, and what's he been doing all this time? Because it seems like the way the mom is describing it, it was a while back, a long time ago. I'm guessing it was a long time ago, but then it's like, okay, what has Freddy been doing in the meantime? Because for me, at least, in my opinion, this is the first instance of him doing this. This is the first batch of Elm Street kids that he's targeting. The reason I say that is because if there was prior instances, if he had been targeting kids previous to this, remember Nancy's father, played by the amazing John Saxon, also played a cop in Black Christmas. If there was previous instances in Springwood of this situation happening, then, her dad, the cop, would be alert to that. He'd be thinking about, mysterious killings of teenagers is happening in Springwood. They're not keen to any of that, so this tells me that Nancy and her group of friends is the first group of friends that Freddy's targeting. That's right. This is Freddy's first day on the job as a dream killer. He's going to target Nancy and her group of friends. So you would think that means that Freddy just got burned like months prior. Like, but I don't know. I mean, it seems like it was years ago. So maybe Freddy's been just chilling in some middle ground world. He found a In-N-Out burger that he appreciates in kind of some middle ground world, or he's been training. Someone's been teaching him how to navigate himself through dreams. But now he's ready to go, and he's targeting Nancy and Tina and Rod and Glenn, this group of friends specifically. And also something very interesting he's doing too, because when you start the movie, this group of friends, they've all been dreaming about Freddy. So, in future sequels, I mean, sometimes Freddy sort of plays with his food first. Sometimes he gives you a warning dream and then comes after you, but that's usually only reserved for the final girl. In terms of like the average teen he kills in the sequels, it's just, that first dream he gets you. But here we start the movie and they've all already been dreaming about Freddy. So he's not killing them yet. He's kind of just messing around with them. And I think that, again, suggests this is early Freddy. This is early in his career. This is his first time at bat, because later on in the sequels, he's just going to, the first time entering a dream, just get you. But here he's kind of, I guess, just seeing what he's capable of in the dreams, having fun. Something's going on here. And we know that they're all dreaming about Freddy too, because Tina's going to we start off with Tina having a dream about Freddy. And we sort of see Freddy's glove and we see the sweater. This sweater also, by the way, the green and red. Apparently, Wes Craven used those colors for the sweater because they're the most contrasting colors. So, like, they're not comfortable for the eyes to look at, is why I use those specific colors. So Tina's dreaming about Freddy, but then she tells Nancy about it. And Nancy's like, oh, yeah, okay. I dreamed about the same guy. And then when they're describing Freddy, Glenn gets a look on his face like, oh, you can tell, like, it's hinted, like, he dreamed about him too. So these three have been dreaming about Freddy. So it's very interesting. Now, one of the sort of played out things in horror, obviously Janet Leigh, our main character in Psycho, gets killed halfway through. And then Friday the 13th, introducing Annie, doing the thing where you think she's the main person, she dies. Obviously, Drew Barrymore in Scream. That trope of, like, thinking that you're following the main character, but then she's killed. It's been done a lot and played out a lot, but in this movie specifically, it's actually very, very surprising to me when Tina gets killed as the first kill, because we literally start off with her dream sequence and Freddy doesn't kill her. If Freddy killed her in that first dream sequence, I'd have been like, okay, that's normal. But when she survives that, and then her earlier interactions with Nancy, it feels like Tina's sort of driving the plot. So in the first 20 minutes, to me, I really do think Tina's the main character. Like, it doesn't, only when Tina's gone do I feel like the movie transitions really to Nancy being the main character. But yeah, they do a really good job with that of not knowing who the main character is. I mean, this first death scene, I expect Rod to be the one to be killed because he shows up at the house. He seems like kind of the asshole of the group. And this first kill with Tina is brutal as hell. Let me just say, I mean, Friday the 13th, Halloween, I mean, this death scene with Tina, like, upstages all those death scenes in those movies. And you also get a feel for, okay, we're not getting a generic slasher where he's just going to use the finger knives and stab people. Freddy's doing some crazy shit here with this whole dragging the body around the room scene and all the blood and everything like that. It's really unsettling, really creepy, and props again to the writing and the storytelling, because again, if you watch it for the first time and you know nothing about the franchise, nothing about the movie, you're going to have a hard time guessing who the main character is in the first 20 minutes, and Tina's death is genuinely a surprise. Okay, the score for Nightmare on Elm Street, the music. The score here is everything. The music is so damn creepy. To me, the score to me is on the same level as the Halloween score. I mean, the Elm Street score is very unsettling, very creepy. I mean, you watch this movie at night with surround sound, turn all the lights off, and have that music blast in your ear, that score. It's very creepy. I don't know. I got to give mad props to the Elm Street score. I think it's 100% better than the Friday the 13th score. I think it's right there with the Halloween score for sure. What else is creepy? Well, the kids on the jump rope with that 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. That song is also very creepy. I think when I was having nightmares about Freddy as a kid, it stemmed from that stupid jump rope song. That, again, to me is a little bit scarier than anything in the Friday the 13th films or the Halloween films. Something about those little kids singing, and then I'm on the jump rope with the blurred sort of camera angle of them. It always gets me. Okay, let's talk about Freddy himself again, because, you know, one of the complaints about the franchise is that eventually Freddy became a parody of himself. Eventually he became kind of a buffoon. became more about the one-liners than trying to scare anybody. And this is true. I mean, we get to parts 4, 5, and 6, and Freddy does become a stand-up comedian. Freddy was always kind of goofy. I mean, you see how he's running in this first film. It just kind of makes you laugh. But in the first film, he is more serious, and it goes back to the idea that this is him early on in his job. I think that we all have jobs where you take it very seriously at the beginning, but as you get more comfortable with it, you get more lax on the job. And that's Freddy in the sequels. As he gets more comfortable, he gets more laid back. But in this first movie, I think he's like taking it very seriously. He's like really putting his all into all the scares and the dream sequences. And so this is a little bit more of a serious Freddy. It's not the most serious Freddy. The most serious Freddy, I would say, will come in part 2. But it's a nice mix of, you do get some one-liners, some bit of humor from Freddy. For the most part, it's played pretty straight by Robert Englund. It's a great, great portrayal of Freddy, one of the best in the franchise. That said, there's some silly things here for sure. Once Nancy actually brings a hat out of the dream, I mean, they're observing her at a hospital at one point, and she brings a hat out of the dream. That should be one of the biggest discoveries in the history of the world. They should be like, oh my goodness, she actually brought a dream. She actually brought a hat out the dream. These people should be like just focusing on that, and it's like never really touched upon again. So that's one thing. Second thing, the movie does have very bad dialogue in some instances. So I'm going to give you some examples here of terrible dialogue. Up yours with a twirling lawnmower. I mean, listen, I was too young to be around back then, so maybe that's how they talk in the early 80s, but man, some of this dialogue is not great and doesn't age very well. Heather Langenkamp talking about, Nancy talking about, I look like I'm 20? I mean, just change that at least to like, I look like I'm 30 or I look like I'm 40. Like, she's like 16 in the movie. I look like I'm 20. What? That doesn't make any sense from a teenage standpoint or an adult perspective, but okay. That's fine. Let's talk about the characters. We have Nancy's mom, who's a raging alcoholic. I mean, we see her drinking at breakfast time. We see her drinking progressively more as the movie goes on. I mean, she's one of the worst moms in the world. Early on, she's telling Nancy that maybe you don't take murder seriously. Like, who says that to a kid that just saw her best friend get killed? Just terrible stuff. Her dad, which, again, is not really a great guy in the movie, doesn't seem like it, but he doesn't actually believe Nancy until the very end when he kind of sees it for himself. But listen, John Saxon, his acting is running circles around a lot of the teen actors in this film. And then we have, of course, one of the things this movie is known for is Johnny Depp's in this film. This is Johnny Depp's first movie. He would after this go on to 21 Jump Street and then Edward Scissorhands. And then obviously we all know Johnny Depp's huge career after that, Pirates of the Caribbean, whatever. His character, Glenn here, is a very interesting character to me because the way he's played, he's actually kind of underwritten because he it's established early on that he sees Freddy also. Like he's dreamt about Freddy. And at certain points, he does seem helpful in terms of wanting to believe Nancy and help her in the fight against Freddy. But we never really know how much he's actually bought in. We never really know how much he believes about the whole Freddy thing. He's helping Nancy because he likes her. It's kind of like, they have a kind of a budding romance that ends up not really going anywhere because he's sucked into a bed and destroyed. But it'd be interesting to know like how much he actually believed her, how much was he in on it. But instead, we're getting a crazy death scene with him sucked in the bed, all that damn blood coming out, and seeing the mom's reaction is horrifying. I mean, again, this is a more impactful death scene than most in the Friday the 13th series or most in the Halloween series, and kind of unexpected. I mean, I'll be honest, again, on a first watch, watching the rhythm of the movie, I expected Johnny Depp's character to survive. I did not expect him to die. Now, how he died, I don't understand because they set it up so well for him not to die. I mean, Nancy did everything possible. Like, check this out. She's literally telling him on the phone. She gives him the plan of like, hey, I'm going to bring him out dreams, cold clock him with a bat. He's like, okay, whatever. I'll be there. She literally says, Glenn, one thing, no matter what you do, don't fall asleep. What the hell, Glenn? What? Why are you laying down in bed with your headphones on? She just told you. That's why I'm like, I don't know how much he bought into it because he goes and lays on his bed. And then even worse, okay, they should have cut to that, to him getting stuck in the bed. His mom wakes him up at 11:42. Like he's falling asleep. His mom wakes him up. He looks at the clock. It's 11:42. The plan is to help Nancy at midnight. Why are you not getting out of bed at this point? He still just lays down and goes back to sleep. Like they made Glenn look like a complete idiot. Like Nancy told me not to fall asleep. The plan's for 12. You're awake at 11:42. Why are you still laying in bed, man? I don't understand. Um, okay, also, by the way, with this scene, prior to Freddy sucking, Glenn to the bed, he's going to call Nancy on the phone. And, obviously, in the sequels, of course, they probably would play with the rules a lot more in terms of like, Freddy in reality, how much influence does he have in reality versus how much power he has in his dreams. But this is kind of breaking the rules of the movie, isn't it? I mean, this is Nancy's awake here and Freddy's calling her on the phone. Like, how is he able to do that? That's acceptable in a dream sequence, but this is real life. She unplugs the phone. His damn tongue it rings and his tongue comes out the phone. I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. It is kind of breaking the rules in the movie. I wish they would have thought about that more and be like, wait a minute, does this make sense? She's not dreaming, so how's Freddy there? Okay. Once Glenn is gone, now Nancy really has to take out Freddy on her own. And this is where the character of Nancy really comes into her own. And I would argue, because she does so much here at the end to get Freddy, I would say she's a much more powerful final girl than Laurie Strode. And I don't think it's even close. If you watch Elm Street versus the original Halloween, I think Nancy is a way better final girl than Laurie Strode, way more developed. And I think Heather Langenkamp does a great job and is extremely underappreciated as an actress. She would be a lot better, I would think, in part 3, and she does improve her acting a lot also, especially in New Nightmare. But she's really good here, too. I think she gets shortchanged when people talk about Laurie Strode, Sidney Prescott. I think Nancy is, for me, above Laurie Strode, honestly. And her setting up booby traps for Freddy and all this, I mean, there's some universe where, Macaulay Culkin's character in Home Alone is watching Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's how he got the idea to set up shop with all those damn booby traps for the robbers. The most value Glenn brought to the movie was that he actually gave Nancy the formula to take out Freddy. When he's explaining to her on the bridge, like, hey, what they would do is they would turn their back on whatever the demon was, and that would take away the power. She's going to use that to actually be the final thing to take out Freddy. Is it a weak ending for Freddy in this film? It's kind of a mysterious ending. I mean, first of all, when Freddy comes out the dream sequence, when it comes out the dream, there's a great jump scare where she brings him out and they're in the bedroom, but she doesn't know if she doesn't know if he came out or not. She's like, maybe I am crazy. Freddy pops up and the damn surround sound hits and it's an amazing jump scare right there. But then Freddy gets his ass kicked for like 3 minutes, falling for every booby trap she set up. He gets caught on fire and we see this ridiculous non-Freddy looking stunt double on fire. In the bedroom then, the mom is on the bed on fire. I don't know what's going on in the bed, but it's kind of a weird ending. The ending feels more like they just ran out of money and budget-wise, this is what they had to do. So it's kind of a weak ending for Freddy, but let's talk about the very, very ending now. This gets very weird there. One of the complaints about the movie for a lot of people was just the whole final dream sequence. Nancy's back with her friends. Glenn's alive. Rod's alive. They're all in the car. And they drive away and the Freddy sweater top comes over the car and then a hand comes through the door window and pulls a big stuffed doll through the door. It looks terrible. I wish they'd have left this out of the film because it's hard to make any sense of like, what does this mean? Like, is she still in a dream? And then the special effects here look really bad. So effects-wise, a lot of things have aged very bad for Nightmare on Elm Street, but we have an amazing final girl performance by Heather Langenkamp. We have an amazing performance by Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. The score is fantastic. Character-wise, like I said, I think you kind of care about Glenn by the time he dies. That's an impactful death, and I think Tina's death is also pretty impactful. And even Rod could have been extremely unlikable the way if they wrote him a certain way, but when he's in the jail, you kind of start to sympathize with him a little bit, man. You feel some empathy about what he's going through, falsely accused, no matter what, he was falsely accused. And Freddy takes him out, but I don't know. I think Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, for me, it's not as good as the original Halloween, but it's right behind that. And it's way better than the original Friday the 13th. Fun factor-wise, I'm going to have more fun with some of the sequels. I'm going to be completely honest. I think that this is a franchise where one or two of the sequels for me might actually rank above the original Nightmare on Elm Street just because I think there's a fun factor and better characters in some of the sequels overall, and actually also better death scenes as well. But this movie is raw and gritty, and it's a serious first watch, and it's not funny, Freddy. there's not a lot of humor in this film. This is like, it's going for the horror, it's going for the thrills, and it does a great job. So for me, Nightmare on Elm Street is a 9 out of 10 horror film. It's in my top 20 horror films of all time. Highly recommend if you've not seen it. We're going to deep dive the entire franchise, so each sequel I'm going to go through. We're going to try to build on the story of Freddy Krueger as it goes, the inconsistencies, the consistencies. Is it there? We'll talk about that with some of the sequels. There'll be more to dive into. But in the comments, let me know what you think of the original Nightmare on Elm Street. What would you do to change it? And of course, if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, the like button, subscribe if you've not. And I will see you next week with a review on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Until then, you guys take care.